What's up, guys? Welcome back to the chat. As always, I'm your host, Samari Iman, and we have a few updates to share. So last time you guys saw me, we were in Connecticut, and I am now based out of the DMV. A few months ago, I moved to the Northern Virginia area, so unfortunately, we won't be covering as much Connecticut sports now, but I'm happy to say that we will be covering more of the DMV. And today, I'm with Naomi, my first DC guest, so I'm so excited to have you today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here and both in the DMV area.
Yeah, so I guess we're both like newer to the DMV area.
Yes.
So I'm really excited. But of course, we, as you all know, we all talk college sports, and I mean, this is like the perfect time. So a little background: Naomi played college basketball at Washington University in St. Louis. So now it's been like 2 years? It's been 2 years since you graduated.
2 years. I'm
Yes.
getting older.
Yes. So yeah, it's been a little bit, and of course, college basketball, it is the perfect time to be talking about that. Today is actually Selection Sunday. We're talking today before Selection Sunday starts.
Yes.
Obviously, there's still some conference championships going on, but I'm super excited to learn more about your Division III journey, because obviously I think everyone knows Division I basketball, but
Right.
they don't really know Division II, maybe III basketball, or just sports in general, and there might be a lot of misconceptions. So I'm really happy to kind of chat through that, because we've only had one other Division III athlete on the podcast. So,
Okay.
I'm happy to talk about it, because not everybody knows what it's really like to
Yes.
be a Division III athlete.
Yes. We're not forgotten.
Yes, we can't forget about you guys. So Naomi played basketball at Washington University in St. Louis. You're a guard, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And I saw that you actually played golf and volleyball in high school too.
Yes, I played volleyball from my freshman year to junior year, and then
Okay.
golf my sophomore year to senior year.
Okay.
It's a very small town to like play multiple sports, so that's
Okay.
like what a lot of people did, was be like a 3-sport, 4-sport athlete. So it was definitely fun to have different teammates and be active like throughout the whole year. So yeah.
We love a well-rounded athlete.
Yes.
But so Naomi you grew up in Iowa.
Yes.
So what was that like? Not only, but you, so you moved from Texas to Iowa.
Yes.
So what was it like growing up in Iowa? Because personally, I've never really heard much about Iowa besides, and I'm sure everyone probably can agree with me, besides like Caitlin Clark.
Right.
But what was it like growing up an athlete? And if I'm going to be honest, I don't know if there are a whole lot of black people in Iowa.
There's not, no.
In Iowa. So what was it like growing up in Iowa?
Yeah.
Growing up black in Iowa, but also playing basketball in Iowa. So that's like multiple parts of that.
Yeah. So I moved to Iowa from Texas when I was 11. So it was like a big culture shock. And my older sister was like 16 at the time. So
Okay.
even a bigger transition period being in high school for
Yeah.
her during that time. But it was really crazy because the town I lived in was just over 10,000 people. So there's
my
like
God.
a Subway, a McDonald's, a Walmart, like that's it. Like you have to drive 40 minutes to go to like Target or something, the
Wow.
mall. So it's definitely an adjustment. Very small town. Like I said, like the sports were like the big thing in the town to be involved in. But in general, like I was probably one of 5-6 black people in my whole grade. And so
Girl.
yeah.
Trust me, you're not the only one. I grew up in
I
Connecticut. I mean, I don't know the black population in Connecticut versus Iowa, but honestly, I also grew up one of like 5 black people in my grade. So trust me, you're not alone there.
Yeah, I feel like when you're that age, like middle school age, you're definitely aware, but I don't think you realize like things that were like,
Yeah.
until like you're older.
Yeah.
Like, did I really live through that?
Yep.
So I feel like once I moved away to college, I was like, did I really only have like 5 black people in my class? But it is very small town, Iowa nice, like people say. And like, I mean, my best friends since middle school, since I moved there, are still some of my friends now today. So I definitely love that aspect of it.
Okay, cool. And then what was like the basketball atmosphere like in Iowa?
I mean, it's definitely big, as Caitlin Clark came from there. It's a big, there's a really big club called Iowa Attack, and my older sister played there, and that's very big. Like, people drive 3-4 hours across from the state to play, like, at this one club, and it's really put Iowa basketball on the map, I would say.
Oh, nice.
But just, like, in my own personal, like, journey, I started playing just locally with, like, the girls in my grade all the way up until high school, and then I didn't play club, like, into the Des Moines area, which would be, like, an hour away from where I lived, until, like, my sophomore, junior year. But it's definitely big. Travel to, like, Minneapolis, Chicago, Indiana, all the surrounding Midwest states, and I think, like, basketball in the Midwest is super big, and there's nothing else to do in the winter time because it's so cold. So
yeah, very true. I actually didn't really think about that. But yeah, I definitely wanted to start off by asking you about Iowa, because I was like, I mean, also club is, like, really how you get introduced into the larger atmosphere of, like, AAU basketball.
Right.
So I guess that was a good place to start, because we're going to transition into Washington, St. Louis.
Yes.
So what made you choose Washington, St. Louis?
Yes. So I knew I wanted to go somewhere out of Iowa for sure, leave the state, but nothing too far. My older sister played college basketball. She's 4.5 years older than me. So I saw her go through the process, and she played at Penn.
Okay.
So Ivy League D1, and I was like, that's great for her. I don't want this route. I personally grew up in a huge basketball family, so I do like the sport of basketball, but I didn't, like, love it. So I definitely knew the Division III route was for me. So just, like, high academic schools, because my parents would always be like, use basketball as a revenue for other things. So high education school is definitely what I was looking at. And then WashU was perfect size, not too big. I think it's like 8,000 undergrad. Okay. So it's like you don't know everyone, but it's definitely like, I mean, it's definitely familiar faces, but, like, you don't have to know everyone. And I went into the business school there, and it's a very good business school. So just the high academic aspect, and then the basketball team, it is Division III. However, we still got, like, Division I travel experiences, because all of our conferences were, like, flights away. So definitely that, like, a good experience into that without being, like, full on Division I. Okay.
And I mean, your sister went to Penn, so that was probably some big shoes to fill.
Yes.
But actually, because I know Washington, St. Louis is in the same conference as, like, NYU, Carnegie Mellon. Obviously, a lot of
nerdy schools.
I guess that's one way to put it. I honestly wasn't going to say that, but you said it, so I will say it. High prestigious. Prestigious schools.
Yes.
But even, like, the Division III, I think in general, a lot of people think, you know, they're not as well known for sports, and, you know, they're mostly known for being prestigious academic schools.
Right.
Would you say that's, like, even how Washington, St. Louis, like, how you guys perceived it, and how, like, the school perceives itself? Like, is that what everyone thought? Like, we're just here, like, Division III, we're here to still play sports for fun, but still get an education. Was that kind of the vibe, or was it something else?
Yeah, I definitely think the vibe and, like, mindset was school first. However, our athletic community definitely viewed sports as, like, just as important. Like, our school didn't call us student athletes, we called scholar champions. Okay. Which is so silly, and we just joke about, but that was definitely the view of, like, school first, but then basketball, but we still wanted, like, an elite reputation in the basketball world.
So that leads into my next question, because I feel like there are a lot of misconceptions about Division III sports, even Division II, that people don't put athletics first.
Right.
And even at bigger Division I schools, they're student athletes. Obviously, students first, but you know, with NIL and everything, and that athlete part is just amplified even more. So what are some other misconceptions you think people might have about Division III sports?
I mean, we definitely have to like the sport enough, because we're not getting paid to go to the school to play. There's no incentive for it.
Does not exist. Yeah.
So I definitely think that is, like, a huge thing, is, like, we're not getting paid, and we're still putting in, like, the same amount of time. Well, maybe not as much as top Division I schools and stuff, but we're still putting in a lot of hours in the off season, in the summertime, during season, for no money.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. But yeah, even like, I guess the biggest difference you could say is that we really only see Division I sports on TV.
Right.
It's only really, I feel like, this time of year when it's like March Madness, or like a large tournament like the NCAA, like D3 or D2's tournament, where we see like the championship game on TV, which I think I think it's awesome that they show that in, you know, obviously Division I, it's the TV deals and all that, but I do think it's special to still show, you know, Division III, Division II schools, because those student athletes are putting in just as much work, and if not, maybe even more. You never know, you know, especially if they value academics more, whether it's on the court or off the court, they're still putting in effort. Yeah,
and I definitely think it's getting better. Like last year, the Division III national championship, NYU won, who's in our conference, so I'm always aware of what their performance is, but they won. And so I know they were able to go to like the Brooklyn Nets game and the New York Liberty game, and they were featured as national champions. And I definitely think like showcasing that is getting better. WashU, the women's soccer team this past year, won the national championship. And I know like the community of St. Louis did things a lot as well. So I definitely think like the awareness is getting better, but like there's still Division III schools I have no idea. Like I've like you see them pop up in a tournament and you're like, oh, I've never heard of that school before. But
I'm gonna be honest, when we first met, when you said Washington St. Louis, I was like, I've never heard of that before. That's totally but even I was looking like when I was looking up the school and like the athletics, honestly, you guys have done pretty well in a lot of other sports, I feel like, in the past few years. So so I feel like it is more on the map. Obviously everyone knows NYU for its academics, but you know, even you sharing that they won the soccer championships, you know, that's not something that everybody knows. So I know you guys just learned something new
on your
about
next Jeopardy who won Division III.
Exactly. You know, NYU has good athletics, and so does Washington St. Louis, and so does a lot of other Division III schools who might not get the same love. Okay, so going into like your day-to-day at school, what was like a typical day like for you in season, you know, balancing athletics and academics?
Let me track back. But we used to in the season have morning practice, I think, before school, so it'd be like either like 6 to 8, 7 to 9. I remember one year we had a 7:30 to 9:30 slot, and that was like ideal. Perfect, chef's kiss. But we schedule, like Division I schools, I think, will schedule practice and then you schedule your classes around it. That's not the case for WashU. Like we schedule our classes first and then find practice time after that. So sometimes it's like not ideal when people have night classes or like an 8:30. But for the most part, we would practice in the morning from like 6 to 8, whatever, and then lift after and then go to school. I know there's sometimes we would have to go to practice, then go to school, then go back for lift. If like that didn't work in your schedule, we'd have multiple groups just because like school was such a focus. But
you're a scholar champion.
We're scholar champions. Yeah, but I definitely say like then school and then afterwards like go shoot or something on your own, and then like night was pretty free, I think. For me, I graduated December of my senior year, so the entire spring semester, which is when we started our conference season, my senior year, I was not a student, and it was fabulous. Like we would practice in the morning, and then I would lift, and then I would just stay there and shoot, and it's like 10 a.m., everyone's doing classes, so I had the whole gym to myself, and then I would just like work my little part-time job and like chill. So that was like so ideal.
Did you live off campus or?
I did live off campus. Yeah. I lived in a house with 2 other teammates and then 1 friend.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting. So you were kind of like doing your own thing. Meanwhile, everyone has to go to class or figure that out. So that's
on
cool.
Our trips, everyone's like stressing doing work in the airport or on the bus studying, and I'm like, playing crossword.
Honestly,
chilling.
that's a good life.
It was the life. Yeah.
That's the life. Well, to give you guys a little insight, Naomi and I are about to start playing intramural basketball in a few weeks. So, you know, we're going to be challenging our inner. Well, I haven't played basketball in years, so we'll see how that goes. At least you've been playing college basketball. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah. But what would you say was like your overall experience, and like how was, I know you said obviously Washington St. Louis valued academics.
Yeah.
But what was overall, you know, the athlete experience at Washington St. Louis? Like, did people, you know, go out to support the teams? Like, what was just the energy around sports?
I feel like it was like half and half. I think athletes definitely supported athletes, but maybe not like the rest of the student body as much. But I think it's getting better, maybe improvement. Like basketball was a big thing, especially our men's team has always been super good. When I was there, like we were a good team, but we weren't like top team.
Yeah.
And I think the men's team was always pretty ranked highly, so they would get a lot of fans and stuff. And I think it kind of just like depended on the sport, but I think the athletes did a pretty good job of like supporting each other for the most part. I was in like a club, it was called Woo Black, which was for like black student athletes, and that was like founded a couple years, maybe like my sophomore year, so then I was a part of it junior and senior year. So that was definitely good to have like a community of black athletes supporting other black athletes. But also thinking about my experience, I had the COVID year.
Of
So
course.
my freshman year, we played the full season and then got sent home in March. And so we didn't have like a normal postseason. We were all just at home. And then my sophomore year, our school was pretty much all online. I lived at home during the whole time because basketball was like TBD status. Yeah. And my family and I were like, okay, I'm going to stay at home and
see what happens.
Yeah, see what happens. If a game comes up on the schedule, like we're going to play, then I'll go.
Yeah.
And we did not. Our conference, like I said, there was so much travel and everything. So our conference did not play basketball at all. So my whole sophomore year, I did not play at all.
Oh, wow.
And I lived at home.
Wow.
So that definitely was like a factor into like my basketball experience and stuff.
So with COVID, I know a lot of, at least on the Division I side, or honestly even across collegiate sports, that a lot of players got to do an extra year because of COVID. Was that an option?
It was an option.
Okay.
I did not take it.
Okay. Do you know anyone else on your team who ended up staying?
There was one person out of all the no one in my class stayed, but the year after me, like my closest friend, she took her 5th year and she was the only one to do so.
Okay.
So kind of just depends on everyone's own personality. Like for me, I was like, I think I'm ready to be done. I had a job offer. See ya.
Yeah.
And we're not getting paid.
Yeah. That obviously
So,
that is a factor.
Paying
but
another year of tuition for basketball is
maybe not. Yeah. And like you said, your senior year, you had already finished early.
Yeah.
So I'm sure staying another year in
right.
that probably just wasn't in the cards for you.
Yeah.
Going back to growing up in Iowa, I know we've talked about your dad was your coach growing up. How was that like? Because I also grew up with my dad as my basketball coach.
Yeah.
He was my AAU coach. He wasn't my high school coach.
Yeah, same.
Dad, I love you, but thank God.
Exactly.
Because I got to have, well, you said same, right?
Yeah.
So we got to have like that high school experience
Right.
with a different coach, but then also go back to club and have that. So what was that experience like for you?
I mean, it was definitely interesting. And at the time, I would be like, oh, I hate this. But like looking back, I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah.
And like my dad and I are super, super close because of it. So my dad was like my AAU coach throughout all of high school, like at our local like AAU. But then eventually I went to a one that's 45 minutes away and he was not my coach there.
Okay.
So that was helpful for like 2 summers. He was not my coach.
That was in Des Moines?
Yes.
Okay.
It was in Des Moines. And then my high school season, he wasn't, but like he would take me to the gym every morning and like, I guess my personal trainer, I guess. But he has so much knowledge. Like he played Division I basketball. So like I couldn't argue with what he was saying. Like when he was my coach in AAU and he would like yell at me, I would just like roll my eyes. But then like I knew he was right and I would just keep going on. But like he definitely saw the eye roll and felt the sass.
Oh, 100%. I was, I swear our experiences right now are mirrored because my dad also played. Where did your dad play basketball?
Liberty University.
Okay, and that's in
right
Virginia,
here in Virginia.
right? Virginia. Yeah. So my dad played at Manhattan College in New York.
Okay.
So honestly, the same. Like I could never argue with what he was really saying because I'm like, what do I know?
Right.
Versus someone who has been in my shoes, and especially at the time, like I would say like my sophomore junior year when it was really getting into the time of going to college showcases and stuff like that. I was like, I really can't argue with him because he's also, you know, helping me with connections and get connected to different camps and stuff like that. So, yeah, I had to ask you about that because I was like, our experiences are a bit too similar. And I feel like everybody who grew up with a parent as a coach can really understand, because it can be great. You can have really great ups and you get to travel with them, and you have a parent, you know, going through your journey with you and giving you advice. And at the same time, there can be downs because, you know, obviously if you're not winning or, you know, you're not seeing eye to eye on things, there's a lot of eye rolls and a lot of yelling. And then my mom would come to games, or I would come home and talk about practice, and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm not playing for him anymore.
I know. Sometimes, like, definitely in high school, I would say, like, after a game, I would be like, I just needed a good job. Sometimes not just coaching.
Yes.
And I think eventually in college, like, we got to that point. Like, my sophomore year, like I said, I lived at home. So then I was, like, really able to, like, take a step back from college basketball. And then it was just me and my dad going to the gym alone. We would go to the gym, and then we would go to coffee, and then we would go, like, I'd start remote school, and he would do work. So then we were able to, like, build that relationship again, and
outside
like,
of basketball.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I would say the same too, because obviously I didn't end up playing in college, and my senior year I made that decision, like, I don't want to continue pursuing that. I just wanted to, you know, have that regular college experience, not playing athletics. And I feel like your relationship does change a little bit, because it's like you were used to being like father daughter, but then also coach player, and then it just goes back to kind of father daughter. So but it definitely interesting. Like I said, if you grew up with a parent, whether it was your mom or your dad, you know what we're talking about.
I have 2 little sisters now, and so I'm just like, it's okay. Like, it's okay.
Yeah,
keep
like
having fun.
You'll be okay. Yeah, my sister
You'll get through it.
My sister played basketball in middle school, and I believe she played for a year in high school. I don't remember, but her main sport was soccer.
Okay, yeah.
So he really only coached her in middle school when she played AAU.
Yeah.
So she didn't get the full extent of it.
She got by.
Yeah, she really did. But yeah, so I want to ask you, you know, we talked about kind of the differences between Division I and Division III, but if there's any high school player out there right now who loves basketball, but they also still love academics, who really want to, you know, continue playing basketball, but at the same time they may not be good enough to play Division II or Division I, what would you say to them why they should, you know, just go ahead and do Division III no matter what?
I think if you love the sport, then keep pursuing. Like, there's opportunity for you there. And also, like, I lost my train of thought.
You're good.
Like, you don't have to, like, don't sleep on Division III. Yes, you're not maybe, like, getting paid for this specific sport, but there's other opportunities. Like, you still get that team experience and life lessons that you wouldn't get elsewise.
Yeah, because I think even I have a few friends who have played Division III, and I'm like, you really do have to love the sport to continue playing it. So I think I love to ask guests, like, what would you say to your high school self, or like just other high school players who might be in that position that you were as a senior or as a junior, because you know, you never know like what people are thinking or whatever else, but you really, I feel like you do really have to love your sport to continue no matter what, no matter if it's Division I or Division III, you really have to love the sport to really continue that. So going back to being from Iowa.
Yes.
Of course I already mentioned Caitlin Clark, but of course I have to talk about that a little more. So how much do people from Iowa in Iowa, like how much do they really obsess over Caitlin Clark?
Her.
Because I feel like the whole country really obsessed over Caitlin Clark, but like being from Iowa, what did it really mean for like her to put Iowa on the map for basketball?
Yeah, I mean, I think Iowa citizens will like go to war for her, and they do online.
Yeah, no, they really do. Yeah.
But there are no professional sports teams in Iowa, so you really just have like Iowa and then Iowa State. There are like other small or mid-major Division I schools there, but that's like really how the state draws the line as
Yeah.
like you're a Hawkeye fan or a Cyclone fan, but just in general to see a athlete like that you grew up with, like I've seen her play around like AAU tournaments. I've seen her play
wow.
at the state tournament because she's only 1 year younger than me.
Yeah.
So to see her now, like in the big screen, like even I'm like, oh, just for the Iowa girl, she's doing it.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So I definitely think it's a big deal to see someone like from such a small town, you know, you're just in the cornfields playing your sport and seeing that like
there's a cornfield.
Yeah, I know. All the kids like growing up, like my little sisters, I went to their practices, like their AAU practices, and they're like from 8 to 12 years old, all wearing like Caitlin Clark, Iowa jerseys, different things like that, supporting the athletes. And I think it's so cool to see.
Well, that's so the fact that also, if you ever have to share a fun fact, that should be your fun
that's
fact.
What people say all the time.
You were at the same AAU tournaments
yes.
as Caitlin Clark. I don't think many people can say that.
I know.
And obviously, she has gotten a lot of love, but she's gotten a lot of criticism.
Right.
But I had a feeling that people from Iowa were ride or die for Caitlin Clark.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to Make It Snappy, which is our rapid fire Q&A.
Okay.
So whatever comes to your mind, just say it. Okay. All right. Ready?
Yeah.
All right. Favorite sports team?
Oh, I don't really watch that many sports. So I don't have like a pro team because like I said, I'm from Iowa. So I don't have like a region. One thing I'll ride for is Texas volleyball.
Okay.
College, D1 volleyball, Texas, hook 'em.
Okay.
That's where
a
it's
good
at.
one. Okay. Favorite TV show?
Dance Moms.
That's a good one. Greatest NBA player of all time?
Oh gosh.
Michael Jordan, LeBron.
I know. I don't want to. I can't pick a side. I'm not a major stan of all, and when people are ride or die for one or the other.
So you're neutral.
I'm neutral.
You're neutral. Okay. Nike or Adidas?
Nike.
Kendrick or Drake?
Drake.
Favorite WNBA player?
Ooh. I love so many of them. I don't have a favorite. Like Caitlin, of course. Nafisa Collier.
Yep. She went to UConn.
Kalia Copper.
Okay, so you have a few.
Yeah.
You have a few.
Sabrina Ionescu. Small guards, of course. All the small guards.
Okay. Favorite pizza topping?
Pepperoni.
Favorite thing about DC? I know that's kind of a hard one.
I know. So far, public transportation, because I hate driving.
And I'm sure you probably didn't have that as much in Iowa.
No public transportation,
Okay.
just driving. So this has just been amazing for me.
Okay. Worst thing about DC?
Probably the politics right now.
Yeah. Who was your favorite artist to listen to before a game?
Before every single game, I had to listen to Turn My Swag On by Soulja Boy. Like, it was the last song I had to listen to. Like, I had to cue it up perfectly.
Just to get that swag, get that energy,
exactly.
Get that mindset.
Or anything like Lil Wayne, Nicki, Drake.
Okay. Good choice. All right, last one. Current women's college basketball players. So I guess who do you think is better? Juju Watkins or Paige Beckers?
I love Paige.
Okay,
She's
good.
so smooth.
Good. As a UConn fan and alum, there's really only one right answer. All right. Since obviously it is Selection Sunday, we have to talk March Madness and who you'll be rooting for. The brackets are not out yet. So, I just want to kind of get who you're rooting for, just overall, who's going to take home the championship this year. Obviously, I'm a UConn alum, so I'm rooting for UConn men's and women's. Unfortunately, the men did fall short in the Big East tournament this year, so that was kind of upsetting. But who are you rooting for this year?
So on the men's side, I don't have a pick because I haven't followed any men's basketball this season.
Yeah.
But
or even on the men's side, is there just a school that you've followed like previously, or like a school that maybe you'll just always root for? Because I'm going to be honest, before I went to UConn, I was a big Duke fan. I know that's very, contradictory because, UConn, Duke, they're both, blue buds. And normally people aren't fans of both. But I will say, that's, an example. I did root for Duke before I went to UConn.
I just have followed like the men's teams from Iowa.
Okay.
Iowa, I don't think is making it this year, but I think Iowa State might. So maybe just out of geography preference.
Yeah.
That for the men's side. On the women's side, I love AZ Fudd, and I would love for Paige to get a championship before she leaves. Both of them have suffered ACL injuries, and I've suffered that, and I just love their comeback. So I'm rooting for them, UConn, to win a championship.
Well, obviously, I'd love to hear that, but wait, we have to do a sidebar real quick.
Okay.
ACL.
Yes.
What was that like? When did it happen?
So my junior year. So sophomore year, I didn't play at all. Junior year, came back feeling great, was doing great. And then we were about to start conference like January. So in
like conference games or like tournament?
Conference games.
Okay.
So in December, I got COVID. December to January, I got a concussion.
Okay.
Came back, got COVID.
Oh
Our
my
whole
God.
team did. I played with COVID because I didn't really I
tested
negative, but I was like, I have a sore throat. Some of my teammates do, but it was like a really sus situation.
Yeah.
So I had COVID, came back from that. And then the last game of our junior year, we were not going to make it to the tournament. It's the second half, and I tore my ACL.
Oh my
it was
God.
like one-on-one contact with this girl. But I did not think that injury happened. Like when I had seen women have torn their ACL, it's been very like traumatic experience. They know on the spot they felt something.
Yeah.
For me, like it kind of just felt like when you hit your funny bone, but just like our knees kind of collided.
Did you keep playing or did you go down?
I got up and like got off the court, but like I walked myself off the court, and it was just like really swollen in the moment, but like I thought it was fine. My family was in Mexico on their spring break trip during that time. It's like the one game they didn't come to. And they texted me. They were like, we saw you didn't come back in the second half. Are you okay? And I'm like, I think I'm okay.
Yeah.
Turns out like a week or two later after I get the MRI that I was not okay.
So I'm assuming you didn't keep playing like after
No, that was the last game of our junior year season. So I went home, got surgery, rehabbed, whatever. And then came back for my senior year. So I missed the beginning part of the season, but then I came back in December. So I missed like the first 5, 6, 7 games or whatever in the non-conference.
Would you say you came back like better than ever? Do you think like things maybe weren't the same? Like what was the energy there?
I definitely came back like good. Like I played the whole season, eventually worked my way back in there. I think the hardest part was obviously just mentally, like having to go through that like every single game that I played in. Like I used to be able to just like wake up, go to practice, walk onto the court, but then like now I had to do like a whole mental exercise, like affirmations, telling myself
I'm good,
I'm okay.
my knees are good. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that, because I know that like injuries, no matter what level, they're always difficult.
So tough.
Okay, so I know we did our picks, but there are a few teams from the DMV this year that will be in March Madness. So we have American University, Mount St. Mary's, Liberty, Maryland, VCU, Norfolk State, and George Mason. Some of those schools aren't that far from us, but I have to ask who you're rooting for. I think I already know who you'll be rooting for because of your familial ties.
Yes.
But yeah, who are you rooting for?
So I haven't been following all those teams pretty much, but I'm going to root for Liberty since both of my parents are basketball alums there. So
Yeah. Okay.
have to support.
Good. That is a good one. I'm probably going to go with VCU because my sister did go there. And I would say that's probably the school that I'm most familiar with when it comes to sports. Unfortunately, but I just moved, so I feel like we're getting there. We're getting there. We'll be going to some games. Unfortunately, so I'm in grad school at Georgetown right now. Unfortunately, Georgetown it's looking like Georgetown's probably not going to make it. So, I did go to a Georgetown game this year. So, unfortunately, if they were in March Madness, that's who I would be rooting for in the DMV, of course. But unfortunately, not. But yeah, no, I'm really excited for March Madness to start. Are you usually someone who like fills out a bracket? Do you do a few brackets? Do you do like 20 brackets? Because I know there's people on like both ends of the spectrum.
I normally just do one in our family bracket. Like our whole family does one. Like even my little cousins who are like babies, 2, 3 years old, like it just depends. Like, we'll read out mascots to them and they just pick, or they'll just get the
that's
top
so cute.
seed automatically. And I have been performing so bad. Like, I've always been at the bottom, losing to my cousins who literally don't watch the sport. Obviously, they're children. So this year, I was like, I'll be the commissioner of the bracket and I'll fill one out, but like, I'll just focus on running it because I normally just do one, but we'll see. I think my work might be doing more like brackets and stuff. So I was like, well, then I have to participate in that. So I'll have more options.
And of course, I feel like as a college basketball player, you have to like show them how it's done.
I know.
Honestly, I haven't done well in the past with bracketology, I guess they'll call it. Yeah. But it's always because there's always that like 1 seed or 2 seed that loses so early that like nobody would have guessed. And then obviously there's always that like 10 seed, 11 seed, whatever, or like
they have their Cinderella
14,
story.
that nobody ever guesses. So I'm like, this year, okay, I have to actually do my research and see like what team is like a 14 seed or like a 15 seed, whatever it is, like who can actually make a run. Because I'm like, I know there's always one and I've known that in the past, but I still always pick like all the 1 seeds, 2 seeds to make it all the way when I know that's just not realistic.
I know. For men's side, since I like have no skin in the game for this one, like I think I'm just gonna have to go off like mascots, colors, roster pictures. I don't know.
Hey, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do to win. But I feel like that's really only like the Cinderella stories. Like I feel like those are really not only, but like you hear them more on the men's side, and on the women's side I feel like it's usually pretty accurate. Like the top seeds do normally make it to like the Elite 8 or like the Final 4, so I feel like it is a little different on the women's side
for sure. I think it's definitely changing though. Like obviously South Carolina has been a powerhouse, UConn, and so you expect them to go every year and year and year, and yes, that's the case this year, but like we saw UConn dominate South Carolina this year, and I think there's just been a lot of upsets like all around the game. So
like I know
everyone
like,
has like 3 losses at least. There's no undefeated. At least,
like I know I saw this graphic. It was like UConn beat South Carolina, but UConn beat South Carolina, but UConn lost to USC beat UCLA, but then UCLA beat USC. So and then I think like it was like Texas or NC State beat another one of them. So honestly, it's like, who knows who's going to win this year? But
it makes it more exciting.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like that it makes it more competitive because nobody likes a tournament where like, I feel like a few years ago it was just USC like blowing everyone out. Obviously, not USC, South Carolina.
Different USC.
Everyone, USC. Blowing everyone out. But obviously, we love to see that. But I feel like the competition, like obviously last year, the tournament was huge because you had like Juju, you had Caitlin. Yeah. Oh my God. Someone who I wanted to mention actually on Iowa who I think was so underrated.
Lucy Olsen?
No. Kate Martin.
I love Kate Martin.
Like, I feel like she did get a lot of love, but like not as much as she deserves. And I feel like she only got more love until she got to WNBA, which I love to see because I do think she's a great player. Yeah.
I love her. She's just like she seems just like a great teammate, like and can fit in wherever, and like her like playing style can go wherever. It's like transferable to every place.
She's definitely like a role player, but at the same time she can like hold her own. Yes. And obviously Caitlin Clark was huge, but I feel like she was like in her shadow a little bit.
I know.
Not like she didn't deserve that, but you know, it's just kind of like the way.
And now she's getting her time. Like she was an Unrivaled this year, and I think that was super cool to see. Just see all of the women's athletes. But no,
that was really cool. I'm so excited that we got to do this.
Yes,
obviously we like
too.
Okay, so for reference, Naomi and I haven't known each other for that long, but I'm honestly, when we first met and like I was learning more about her playing, learning more about you playing like at Washington and stuff, I was like, oh my God, you have to come on the podcast and share, especially your D3 story, because the media doesn't share enough about D3. So it's like we have to hear these stories in March Madness. Obviously, what better time to talk about basketball than Selection Sunday? So yeah, I'm so excited that you came on, and thank you so much.
Thank you. It was so much fun.
All right. Thank you guys for joining in to this episode of The Chat, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.